We got hards on. We're going to the end.
Hards on. We got hards on. We're going to the end. Welcome back. It's another podcast. It's another episode. It's China. It's China. Don't think I've seen a race at China before, but I'm happy. I'm happy to be watching it. I think at the end, when I was talking about Japan, which I reviewed, ranked, scored, whatever, that's not something I usually do, but I did it for that because I feel like when you see something that's really good, you immediately want to give it a score out of 10. You're like, oh my God, that was amazing. I want to tell people it was a 9, 10 out of 10 experience. And then when something's really bad, all of a sudden you want to start doing scores as well. You're like, oh, that was so bad, I'd probably give it a 2. When you watch something that's like a 6, you're not there like dying to tell someone the score you want to give it out of 10 because you're like, you know what score I'd give this? A 6. And they're like, okay. This is all irrelevant. What I'm trying to say is that I didn't like Japan's Grand Prix. Never been to Japan. But at the end of it, I was kind of like, oh, but it's fine because we're immediate. I thought it was a double weekend. I thought we was going straight into another race week. I thought, okay, Sunday's not great, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow to the same F1 tweet. It's race week. And I woke up not to that tweet. And I thought, that's a bit odd. And I didn't really see anything in a couple of days. And I thought, that's a bit odd. And then I checked the date and realized I'm not good at knowing dates because I had to wait a week for it. And it was especially hard because not only was the race boring, but Daniel Ricciardo went out. And I've kind of turned into this huge Daniel Ricciardo fan. I think because he's been not doing so great for a good few years, I guess, that it's made me root for him even more than I would like if he was just amazing kind of thing. Like he is the person that I'll admit it. I'm watching his timings. I'm like on the side. I'm like going, oh, it's 6 tenths. Look, I feel like it's been 10 minutes. It's probably been 10 seconds. I look back. Oh fuck! It's only now it's 7 tenths. Oh, it's down to 4 tenths. Oh, I think he's about to overtake someone. He's probably on the big straight at the moment. That's how I'm doing a lot of the time. It's crazy. My blood pressure doesn't need to be that high. But anyway, this was a sprint weekend, so we had a lot of like extra shit. Like yesterday was a real sort of challenge in terms of loyalty with me in this sport because it was asking me to not only wake up at 4 a.m. For what would that have been for the sprint race, right? And I've already woken up at 4 a.m. this year to watch. Woke up, and I know people from around the world they do it for every race. Bravo to you, but how many times do you want me to give you a clap? You know what I mean? But multiple times. Yeah, Australia. I was just honestly forgetting why I was going with that. But yeah, Australia, I woke up at 4 a.m. This one, not only did I have to wake up at 4 a.m. for a sprint race, but then, because that wasn't at least an actual race, Australia, and it came good. I think it was pretty decent. Go back to bed and wake up again at 8 o'clock for qualifying. And I did it. So round of applause for me. I know I just said I'm not handing them out, but I would like them in return. I am sort of hypocritical in that way. But yeah, set the alarm for 4, wake up, watch the sprint race, which I'm not going to talk massively about the sprint. It does get confusing in terms of doing this. Like, in terms of something to enjoy, you got 2 extra things to watch. Because usually, look, I'm not going to be watching practices. Let me just say that. But, I'll watch every qualifying. I'll watch every race. So typically, you got 2 things you're watching across the weekend. This has double the amount. You got an extra qualifying, an extra little race. And as much as I enjoy it in the moment, I very quickly don't care about it after it's happened. And I said this multiple times, but I liked the sprint race more. And I know people didn't like it for different reasons, but I liked it more when it was sprint, qualify for the sprint. The sprint qualifies you for the race because it just felt like there was more stakes in it. When I watch the sprint now, it's like, okay, this might be fun. This might be good racing or whatever, but it doesn't really mean anything. Unless you're in the top 8, nothing matters. It doesn't change your qualifying position. And even if you are in the top 8, the amount of points you get is so minuscule. It's just like, whatever, type thing. But it's more entertainment. It's more things to watch. I don't think any of the drivers like it, which doesn't help. Like when Lando's on pole and he's like, yeah, I mean, I wish it was a real qualifying, but this is nice and all. It's hard for me to care when they don't. But that happened. In terms of actual quality, well, firstly we've got to do this with the whole sectors. God, it's only been like a couple of weeks, but I've completely forgotten the whole format in here. We got the 3 sectors. Rate my quality, the race one, the waist one down. I think I do that every time. I make the same joke every time, but I come out speaking like the sort of Looney Tunes character. The race rundown, and then soft, medium, hard awards. In terms of rate my quality, I'm going to give it an 8. Don't I think actually no, I think what did I give last week's? I think last week's would have been pretty bad. I don't remember, but 8's pretty high. And to be honest, if I was just rating the sprint quality, it would be a 10. I don't think you can get much better than that sprint quali, because rain is important and it makes things exciting, but like it needs to be noted that like the rain has to come halfway through or a little bit through and then maybe leave. So you get like the changeover, the crossover point of when you're going to go in, or the the adaptation phase. If it's raining at a race, but it's just raining from beginning to end, it might as well be dry. It's the same conditions from the beginning to end. That gets a little bit more trickier, and maybe different cars will perform better in it. But it's a lot more fun when the rain comes in. So the rain came in for this race, which made it fun. Verstappen wasn't on pole. He qualified fourth, and he like didn't spin out, but he like went off, which was nice. He is mortal. You can cut him open. There'll be blood and arteries in there. That's nice. That's a good reminder. I like to know that. What else happened? Hamilton, Norris had that late drama at the end. That's another thing that's important for a qualifying. The last minute of the final of Q3 has to be good, and it was. It was like, oh my god, is he going to be on pole? What? Hamilton's on pole, and he's like in a shitbox car, which he hates, and he doesn't want to be here. What? He's on pole, and it's like Norris gets the pole, but it's not. It's taken back, and then Hamilton takes it, but then they give Norris his one back, and it was just great fun. It was just good vibes, and I'm just going to throw this out in the world. I'm not saying I believe this. I'm not saying anything. This is just a fun one for you, like conspiracy fans out there, or Lewis Hamilton fans. In the Venn diagram of conspiracy fans and Lewis Hamilton fans, I reckon there's a big sort of crossover point in that middle area. Anyway, but all I will say is, do you reckon? And I'm just asking the question. Don't shoot the messenger, or the question asker. If Verstappen was on pole, do you think they would reinstate that Norris lap? Because like they take it away and they leave it. They don't reinstate it until they see. Let's see what everything that happens here. Yeah, we'll reinstate it, or that's at least what the graphics lead you to believe, right? And I'm not saying this and that. I'm not even saying it's like an anti-Hamilton thing. Like they saw Hamilton on pole and they're like, no sir. But do you think if it was Verstappen on pole yesterday or whenever it was, I'm getting confused now with waking up, that they would have reinstated that Norris lap? And I do think they probably still would have. Probably. But if it was, now what about this? If it was like when Verstappen was going to break the race record or whatever that week where Sainz won, I think he already broke it. But like, if Verstappen had some sort of record he was about to break, or he was on the verge of something, or like, do you reckon they'd reinstate the lap? Because I think there's a good chance. And to be honest, is it even crazy to have conspiracies in like a sport that is this rich and this many? There's been a lot of examples where they do dodgy stuff. I don't know what the thing Alonso was complaining about or whatever, where like someone, I can't even remember what it was, so I can't even use it as an example, but it happened sort of recently towards the beginning of the season. I don't think it'd be that crazy. But I already know that's, going around some people's minds, because Lewis Hamilton fans, the real hot, because I like Lewis Hamilton, but I'm talking about the hardcore ones, the LH army. They know about Roscoe's whereabouts right now. They weren't happy. Like I saw like a Lewis Hamilton fan on Twitter beefing like a photographer for like bullying Lewis Hamilton, and then, if you've seen the thread, you know the thread. It was crazy. But yeah, no, it was a great quality. Only reason it comes down to an 8 from like a 9 or a 10 is because the actual qualifying for the race was a little bit worse. Like Verstappen was on pole for that one, but I mean Hamilton went out in Q1, which is exciting. Like a big guy, you're a big guy going out in Q1. That's like fun, but also I like Hamilton's that sort of. These are all bias scores, obviously, so that knocks it down a little bit for me. And then also, but what saves it is, the end of Q3 was fun. It was good. Like, you had, okay, it wasn't fighting for pole, but like, each driver that crossed the line took P2. It was like, I'm just making this up, I don't know the order, but it was like, Sainz, he's front row. Leclerc's front row. Now it's Alonso front row. Now it's Norris front row. Now it's Perez front row. And even though that was like following the trend, I didn't want Perez to be front row because I have some sort of Perez agenda, shoot me. I don't know why. I just sort of have this sort of anti-Perez thing. I don't. He's done nothing wrong. Honestly, Perez is so innocent. Like people don't like Stroll. We'll get to Stroll. People don't like certain other drivers, Ocon, and they'll have reasons. I have no reason for Sergio or Checo. I feel like if you like Perez a lot and you're like a big Perez guy, you call him Checo. And I feel like if you're a little bit more colder with Perez, you call him Sergio Perez. And then, we keep it formal. But yeah, rate my call up. We're giving that a strong 8. And I think it's hard to get I think it's easier to get a good score in a race than it is in quali, at least for me. I'm not going to explain that because I actually want to talk about the race. I feel like I've got decent reminders here that I've wrote down like what's happened then throughout the race, so I don't forget. Whereas Japan, I didn't have a lot. I was really just sort of, and it was a shorter rep. But yeah, race rundown. Like I said, I won't talk too much about the sprint race. I think they're fun, but it's irrelevant fun. It's kind of like a friendly, or like watching the Saudi league. You get to see Ronaldo and you get to see Neymar, and that one did the bicycle kick and one this and that. But it's like, or a friendly's more accurate because it's like, okay, that was cool. Or a charity match, all these big stars, oh, that's fun. But it doesn't mean anything. It's not really on the line. It's like, oh, it's just whatever. I'd rather see a slightly more boring race, but it actually matters to the championship and stuff like that. Whereas this feels like it matters so little. But that, I'm not anti-sprint at all. Let me just say that. You know, I like sprints. I don't mind tracks being in America. I'm not one of these fuddy-duddies. You know, I'm just gonna sort of make that clear right now. But yeah, so I won't talk much about that. That being said, Norris bottled it. Could Norris have got one win first time? To be honest, he wouldn't give a fuck, but I'd rather win a race as my first race over like a sprint race. He wouldn't have cared. But yeah, he's on par. I mean, would he have won anyway? I mean, Verstappen was so quick, he would have came through. Butterfly effect, dominoes, we don't know. Maybe he went ahead, the people behind him would have battled. Maybe Verstappen would have got in a tangle. Maybe he would have went out and crashed out. The butterfly effect. When a Lando Norris flaps his wings, an earthquake happens. You know what I mean? So you never know. But what we do know is that didn't happen, and he sort of got Lewis Hamilton, who, to be fair, I thought it would have been nice to see Hamilton on pole, for example, for the sprint race. But I just thought it would have just been like putting a baby on the front line. It would have just been like this vulnerable thing. Like, oh, it's like when you see like Magnus or someone at the back grab a pole and it's like, okay, that's all well and good, but we're just going to watch someone die as soon as the race starts and just fall back, you know, type thing. But to be fair, he finished second still. Like, he did all right. He did decent. Like, he locks up. Verstappen gets him earlier than you would have liked, but still, he got P2. Decent. I mean, big juxtaposition between that and what happened like the day after, but you know, did better than I thought he would in that car, in that soapbox car. So yeah, whatever. Another person I want to give love to real quick as well before I talk about the main things, the big things, some of the safety car related things, let's say, of this race. I want to give Valtteri some love. Valtteri Bottas, and he's been a lot of ass. A lot arse, I'd say. A lot of arse, no substance, I felt like. A lot of, you know, gets it out on the gram, you know, he's all online, but he does all this talking on the gram, not on the track, you know. I'm thinking, you know, he's got these funny little ads and everyone's loving him, and all of a sudden he's got the mullet, but a lot of people going, is he kind of just, you know, phoning it in? Is, like, last year when you look at his point difference to, like, Zhou, like, is he looking that good? I feel like this season so far, they've had these awful long pit stops and stuff, but like between him and Zhou, like, it feels like Bottas is showing like, no, I used to, you know, drive in that Mercedes next to Hamilton and like grab a fair amount of poles off him and like do a decent job, and I was a great number 2, you know, type thing against, you know, 7-time champion, meant to be 8-time champion Lewis Hamilton or whatever, right? And this year, like, sometimes like the gaps in quali has been like huge. Right? I have the quali down here. Maybe this won't even be a good example. Like, where do they qualify? I mean, Bottas was P10. I think this is I think in terms of the sprint quali, I remember Zhou got to Q3, and that was a decent little thing there. Because it was his home race. But yeah, Bottas, it was P10. I don't know where Zhou was, but he was below 15th. You know what I mean? There's been quite a big gap there in the race. It's like, Zhou's doing decently, but then you look where Bottas is, he's like 7 places ahead. And it was unfortunate today with like the engine dying, but like for the most part, I think Bottas has really shown an added quality that wasn't there last season, and a big difference now that we should be seeing between like him and a Zhou. And yeah, he you know, he's not just a big ass, you know, he's not. You know, he's got, you talk to him, and there's actually something going on in that brain. This is starting to sound like a bit of a sort of sexist thing, weirdly, in a way, which it wasn't meant to be. I'm just more joking about that. He gets his ass out a lot for calendars. I'm not trying to compare it to. Anyway, let's stop digging a hole. Maybe no one was probably even thinking that. Probably about. It doesn't matter. Let's move on swiftly. Taylor Swiftly. Valtteri, what else happened? I mean, Max led unchallenged. That's literally all the note says. It says Max leads unchallenged. Next note. And what can I say about that? I mean, this is the most dominant I've probably seen Max, I want to say, unless there's been way more ones which I just blocked out of my mind. And I don't mean because he finished like 13 seconds ahead. We've seen him finish like over a minute ahead, I'm pretty sure. But it was like the second or third lap, and it was basically as if like he was about to start lapping cars already. It was like, yeah, okay, I get it. He was in clean air, so you can just put in the times. But we're like 3 laps in, and the gap was crazy. Like, yeah, slightly demoralizing when a race starts and immediately you see Verstappen in the lead. But I'm used to it at this point, and I don't mind it. But up until the incident, right? It was just an okay race that was just ticking over. I saw some people calling this race boring, which I disagree. I think it was actually all right. But as Rizzle Clicks once famously said, let's skip to the good bit, which is engine dead, right? That's where it starts. It's engine dead, it's Bottas, and that's when the first domino starts to fall. Okay, that is when it's like he's what's his name? He's J. Robert Bottasheimer, you know, and this is the chain reaction that destroys the world. All right, this is a chain of safety cars that will engulf the entirety of F1, or at least it engulf like the really bads, as Crofty wants to call them now, the racing bulls. Because this little moment here, you know, when a Bottas flaps his cheeks, you know, it leads to a hurricane inside the Red Bull garage. I know, I'm a poet. It's crazy. Basically, explosions, ripple effect, and it kind of leads to this whole safety car into a real safety car, into another little crash, into this guy retiring, into both the Red Bulls being out. Because first of all of that, him going out on the safety cars and all of that stuff, and the people pitting, leads to Lance Stroll. And that's the best way to describe it. It leads to Lance Stroll. Don't so many incidents and just things, sometimes they all lead to Lance. Because Lance Stroll, you can't park there, mate. And when I say there, I mean under another man's car, because that's where you was. And I get it. I get the buzzword. I know what to say. Constantina effect, you know, like all this slows down, and all of a sudden, before you know it, the car's really in front of you, and you haven't got time to react. But firstly, you're coming for Daniel, and so now I'm already on the defense, right? Now, you know, I've never boxed in my life, but I'm trying to learn, you know, am I southpaw? You know what it is? Like, you came for Daniel. You're trying to say, or maybe he was saying ahead of him, someone broke really early or whatever. But like, it just feels like, you know what, this whole Constantine effect, of like trying to say, oh, but because I haven't seen it, I'll be honest, but I know there is people who will be saying like brainiacs, like, actually, Lance Stroll really couldn't, you know, give him benefit of that. It's like, we can say all this stuff and give that benefit of the doubt if it was like, I don't know, almost anyone else who crashed into the back of Daniel. But like, with Lance Stroll's track record, is it not more believable that he was just a little bit distracted, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, damn, Brad, I just crashed into the back of the... Like, that just seems more likely to me. Because Daniel had the same thing happen. He's looking at the car ahead, he's going, oh, he's slowing down a lot. Probably slightly taps him as well, Piastri, even before he gets hit. But lightly, and just about does it in time. And you're in the same situation. When you watch both of their onboards, they look pretty similar. Difference is one brakes, the other keeps driving straight up his rear. So I don't really know what to say other than you can't park there, mate. The other Red Bull, Magnussen, sort of ding, just sort of a little cheeky little sort of what go-kart kind of move, just take him out from behind, GTA races type thing, cheeky one of those. And to be fair, I have kind of been manifesting that, not because I have anything against Yuki. I like Yuki. I've got to say that whenever you say anything, Yuki is the Taylor Swift of Formula One. Just make sure you know I like Yuki, but it's just that it's a situational thing. So I kind of needed that, because I needed Daniel to have a really good weekend, and he needs to beat him in a race. When I say I needed it, I needed it. So I was kind of praying for that. That being said, yeah, Magnussen, crazy. And Magnussen, doesn't Magnussen just love getting like, going for a huge lunge, getting a 10-second penalty, and then just going on like a spree of like doing crazy overtakes and getting in these like huge battles at like 15th when he already has 10 seconds? at the end. He just loves doing it. He loves like just racing with the freedom of I'm fucked anyway. He does that all the time. But yeah, Magnussen was going crazy. And when I heard RB out, it's a racing ball. One of the racing balls is out. I had, I was having PTSD. It was Japanese fucking flashbacks. And by the way, when I'm saying Japanese flashbacks, I'm talking about, because the same thing happened in Japan with Daniel. That's not like I'm talking about the race. You get what I'm saying? That sounded mad. Especially when I'm talking about Bottenheim or whatever. Daniel went out in Japan. And it was like the similar commentary, like race Red Bull out, and I'm thinking, oh, please not Daniel, anything but slithering, anything, and it was, it was that. So when it was Tsunoda, it was this big like, oh my god, thank God, oh my god, thank God. And before I could even inhale after the big exhale of relief, it cuts to Daniel getting his car jacked, like he was in a pit by Lance Stroll, and it was just like, oh, damn, basically, damn Daniel. So that wasn't ideal. But to be fair to Daniel, he actually had a really good weekend, I think. It was a very strong weekend. It was much needed. I mean, let's go through the stuff. I mean, he out-qualified Yuki both times. It was pretty, like, I think Yuki had maybe, this time he was on the right tire, or this time he got the weather wrong, or this time he just felt like the car was something wrong with it, or this time maybe he had that. I don't know. Each time there was maybe a different kind of excuse. But whenever someone doesn't do well, there'll be some kind of excuse. That's just how it is. This weekend he was just better across all the board, and maybe it's because Daniel's driven here before, I'm pretty sure, obviously, and I don't think Yuki has. Maybe it just wasn't a track suit to him. I don't know, but Daniel just seemed like he had him this weekend, which I needed that just for my own sanity, because I was starting to be like, am I believing something that's not even real anymore? Like, but no, he can still drive. I think, let's see, Daniel qualified P14 in the sprint, Yuki P19, and then he qualified P11. Oh no, he finished the sprint race P11 and Yuki finished P16. And then for actual quali, Daniel was P12 and I think Yuki was like P19 or something bad like that. Yeah, it was P19. So there's a big gap there. Obviously in the sprint race he finished above him. And I think in the normal race he would have finished above him too. So he kind of like whitewashed him for this weekend at least, which Yuki has done multiple times before this, which is why I need this. Isn't like a me trying to say he's better than Yuki thing, or just like showing Yuki completely. Again, please, I'm innocent. I'm friend, not foe. But yeah, I think he would have finished above him this race and potentially got points as well. Point. I mean, to be honest, I don't think he would have got. He might have got points. I reckon what would have been likely, because his strategy was kind of weird. Like everyone kind of pit and he stayed out, and he would have had to pit again. I reckon what would have happened would have been he would have been like on softs towards the end in like 11th or 12th pushing for points, and maybe he would have just missed out or maybe just got him. It would have been close, but he looked like he had pace. Like he got undercut by Yuki, and I was thinking, oh man. And I've seen Daniel so many times just kind of sit behind people, but he was on the good tires. And he actually made use of them, and he very quickly within like a few laps was back ahead of Yuki. When he came out, he was like 6 seconds behind. So I was like, okay. So it was like, oh my god, he's doing it. He's doing the thing where he drives and overtakes people again, and like it's clean and stuff. So that was nice. So yeah, that's promising going into Miami, which the sort of American Monaco. And I can't remember what Miami's like. I can see it in my mind right now, and I can visualize it, but like I can't remember if it was good or like if it was good for overtaking or if it was just fun in general. Even though we've done it like 2 times now, I think maybe once, twice, 3 times. Daniel, don't know what I'm saying now. But yeah, that will happen there. What else happened? I mean, Leclerc and Sainz were getting tasty. They were tangling, they were touching tires, which sounds like I'm trying to say alludes to something more dirty. But no, I mean literally touching tires on track, basically. It's not an innuendo. They were touching tires, they were going around corners, they was pushing each other wide, as the Ferraris do, and I loved it, I was here for it. And normally I'm probably only saying that because Leclerc was the one who came out on top. But he did this weekend, and I'm happy and grateful for that, because that's another one which I've been needing. Now all I need is Hamilton to start getting back ahead of Russell, and then all of my sort of people who, I want to be doing better than other people will be going well. Daniel finally had a better weekend than Yuki. Norris is doing better than Piastri. Needs Hamilton to be doing better than Russell, and Leclerc to be doing better than Sainz. And in all of those scenarios, I like the second driver in those scenarios. It's just that there is usually one. That's kind of how I watch. It's like I'll usually have a driver I prefer to the other driver in the teams, and I kind of just watch like, I really hope he finishes ahead of him. And that's how you kind of got to have these things in your head when you're watching a season or seasons where the winner is just decided before the end of the race. You got to have other things that are entertaining you, kind of. But yeah, Hamilton, a decent recovery drive. I mean, he made up 9 positions, I think, because he started P18, he finished P9. Should he have got Piastri? Maybe that would have been nice. 10, and he was like 1.2 behind Piastri for ages, then finished like 1.7 behind. Didn't happen. Whatever. I think Russell was like 6th or 7th or something. I think it was 6th. Would have been nice, decent enough. Hopefully that car gets sorted in some kind of way. I was looking at my predictions earlier, what I did at the beginning of the season, and I knew they were silly and ridiculous and unbelievable and sort of hopeful at the time. But even, I mean, they're mental. But I'm not going to mention them until the end of the season. Maybe some of them will come good. Rosberg on commentary. Violence. The guy he's crazy, he's brutal. It's like Crofty said about 900 things, and 89 of those things are challenged by Rosberg. Like, he'll say something like, oh, this is a great track for this, and Rosberg will be like, actually, no, it's not. It's really not, Crofty, because when you're traveling on the track, you really want to, like, get the grip, and in the wet conditions, you just... And then Crofty will say something else, like, I think, actually, this and this and this, and then Rosberg will be like, no, I disagree with you there. I disagree. I don't think he pushed him wide. It's good racing. I wish Hamilton was a bit harder there, actually. Whoa. Type thing like that. And then, like, it got to one of these scenarios, and, like, Crofty was like, oh, that's similar to the other one. He got a penalty. Do you reckon he should be getting a penalty here? And then Rosberg was like, no, I don't. I disagree with you. And then Crofty was like, can I ask why? And he was like, I don't know. I don't know. Type thing. But to be fair, I like Rosberg. There was a point where they were kind of just arguing. He was saying, I don't think there should be points going down to 20th. And he was saying, I think there should be, and this and that, going back and forth. It was just a nice little switch up. It's usually, who is it? Brundle, I think, on it usually. I don't know where Brundle is, or if this is just like, if this was pre-decided, or if this was because Brundle had to go somewhere or something like that. But I quite enjoyed the different dynamic, and having Rosberg. Because also, I think Brundle was a driver as well, because he always talks about it. But he was a driver, I feel like, when it was too old for me to really connect with what he's saying sometimes. He's talking about, we drove and we had to get out ourselves, and, you know, if the oil got clogged, you have to suck it out of the car halfway through and this and that. But, like, Rosberg is like, he's talking about people he raced against and stuff a bit more, and I don't know. And he challenges Crofty sometimes more, and they just have, like, little back and forth. It was alright, it was decent. Good little insight as well sometimes. And I feel like he has more of an Alonso mindset sometimes, which comes out like when he's like talking about the drivers. Like sometimes it feels like all of the commentators they have more of like a clean racer mindset, whereas he has more of this dog kind of mindset. Dog. And then I think finally, only other thing I got down here is Alonso, the Alonso gravel, and that has to be Alonso basically. He shows immense skill by making a mistake. Like, he's doing something bad, like he fucks up. But, like, in doing that, he shows that, actually, no. By doing this, I'm actually showing I'm, like, one of the best on the grid. Because, like, we saw that same mistake, pretty much, that same corner, take Carlos Sainz's ankles, you know, like a day or two before, and send him into the wall. And Alonso maybe was a little bit less, but basically did the same thing and just snapped it. And for him, it was less of a deterrent. It was less, whatever the word it was like less of something harming him going forward in this race. Like, he didn't lose time. Like, he went into the gravel and it was like a Mario Kart like speed boost. Like, a couple corners later, he literally bullet billed past Lewis Hamilton. It wasn't like, oh, it's going to take him a couple extra laps to get past. It was like, no, it was like he was doing it for skill points. Like, he was getting drift point. It was just like cool, and like, you know, you don't really deep it that much. But like, if Logan Sargent does the same mistake, you know, it's, you know, he's sitting on the back of the little moped, like, you know, sort of, frick, man, what the frick, you know. So like, yeah, shout out Alonso, not that he needs it. On to Miami, because the next race is Miami. I don't know if I've got negative or positive thoughts about Miami. I really don't know. I really don't remember. In America, if it's like Monaco, I guess then it should be hard for overtaking. I can visualize it right now in my head pretty well, but I don't know what to expect for it. I'm just going to go out on a whim and say it's going to be at least as good as this. I'm going to say it's going to be at least like a 7 out of 10 race. Based off of what? I don't know. Soft, medium, hard awards. I basically almost always forget to do this. Soft, Stroll. I want to start doing these because I think usually in the past I do it just kind of for the race. Like who had the worst, the medium, best performance type thing. But now I'm just going to do it for the whole weekend. And the whole weekend just in general. Stroll, you got out-qualified pretty heavily by Alonso for both qualifyings. For the one I have down here, where did he qualify? I mean, I can't even see where he qualified on here, which means it must have been... No, but he qualified 11th. Alonso was P3. And then the other quali, I don't know where they were, but... I mean, in the race, he killed Daniel. He killed the badger, the honey badger. And I won't stand for it. And he blamed him. And I'm going to put him soft award just because it's like... Maybe just for the sort of... Actually, we've got similar voices. Let me know even. Medium, mid. I'm going to give it to Hamilton, which is kind of crazy because he did gain 9 positions in a car that's not even that good. A lot of that would have been helped through safety cars probably and stuff like that. But still, it's still a good job. Or I'll give it to Ricciardo because I think Ricciardo had a pretty decent weekend. So either one of those two can get the medium award. And also... I probably would have definitely given it to Hamilton if he got Piastri at the end, but he didn't. And if Ricciardo finished the race, he would have definitely got it. So those two little things kind of held them back in different kind of ways. And the hard award I'll give to Norris. The only thing dampening his weekend is, not that he needed to even win the sprint, but at least have a better start in the sprint. Or a reaction to how the start happened, maybe. But aside from that, he got driver of the day. He finished P2. He was ahead of the Perez rocket ship. Well, when Perez is in it, it's not a rocket ship, it's just a Red Bull. But he was at least ahead of one Red Bull. So I'll give it Norris. I'll give it Norris to end the season. So yeah, Miami next. I look forward to it. I checked this time. It isn't next week. We have got another week break. And to be fair, going straight from China all the way to Miami would be pretty crazy. Actually, is it even that far? Maybe they can go that side around the globe, and it isn't that far. I don't know. I can only think of a globe as a flat surface. You know what I mean. You get it. You get it. Yeah, Miami GP. This was the Chinese GP. We got hards on. We're going to the end. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.